And the World Cup has gone into what we call the main stage, the real stage where we start seeing the big boys packing their bags, packing their luggages and going back to their country. And someone talk about the fact that we got the biggest shocker of the World Cup maybe this morning, or someone say yesterday evening, where we saw somebody or a country that many expected maybe to get to the round of 16, or someone say two countries were expected to get to the round of 16 had to pack their bags and leave the World Cup. Some will call it the big brother house of the World Cup, where you have to pack your bags, where I keep on saying you get ready, you don't know whether you would leave the World Cup after the game. Welcome to the FIFA Roundup Show on Atlantic TV. My name is Richard Unwaje. On the show today, we have a big package, very explosive because, the real World Cup, because the real World Cup has just begun, and we'll talk about what's happening around the games from yesterday, talk about the fixtures, and as usual, all the way from Atlanta, Pooja is waiting to join us, where we will all, of course, dissect what happened yesterday and this morning around the games around the World Cup. It's the FIFA World Cup Roundup Show, and if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's go in to the next chapter. All right, it's Richard Unwaje, and it's Atlantic TV. The FIFA Roundup Show, it's on, and we are still giving you all the biggest updates happening around the FIFA World Cup, happening in Canada, Mexico, and USA. It has been a thrilling moment so far, and we've moved to the round of 32, where we have started seeing, we call it the knockout stages, where you have no second chance, you lose the game, you're out of the tournament, and we saw another, we'll call this the real games so far, the real games, the big shocker of the World Cup, some say happened yesterday. Now let's look at some of the games, results of the World Cup round of 32 matches, and let's see what happened. Now, Brazil had a very, very interesting game against Japan, and I need to talk about all these games today because they were really got us, in a very special moment. Now, Brazil and Japan played a very interesting game. Japan took a lead in that game. It was a very, very interesting match, and we saw in the second half of the game how Brazil came up to see how they could get things done. Now, Suzuki, the goalkeeper of Japan, had a lot of saves, made a lot of saves in that particular game yesterday, but Brazil had a way of turning things around. The man they call Casemiro, some will talk about the fact that he's out of Manchester United. He is maybe at his point of retirement, but not when it comes to playing for the Brazilian national team, where he scored. He made it to be 1-1 in the game, and the man from the bench, the Arsenal man Martinelli, came in and did the needful to make sure Brazil win that game 2-1 to qualify for the round of 16. Now, the interesting part of that game was that the goal came in at the second minute of the match. Now, don't forget also in the Canada-South Africa game, we also had that particular kind of late goal coming in, and it happened yesterday in the Brazil and Japan game. And I can tell you something, Japan played their best. But we know Ancelotti, when it comes to scoring late goals, someone say he's the king of scoring late goals. His coaching teams that score late goals, and it happened again yesterday, where another late goal was enough to make sure the Brazilian national team qualify for the round of 16. Now, looking at the results we had yesterday, it was a very interesting one, where we had the game between Germany and Paraguay. Now, the Germany and Paraguay game was very, very interesting because it went into penalty shootouts. And many would expect Germany to do the needful, in 90 minutes, 120 minutes. Well, it just didn't happen that way. And for many people who talk about the Paraguay national team and talk about the fact that we did not sit down with this very, very impressive play in the group stage, but doing well to make sure at penalty shootout they were able to kick out Germany. Now, they call penalty shootout the game of anybody can win the penalty shootout, and it happened again yesterday, where many expected the German machines as one of the favorites to move to the round of 16, but had to leave the tournament yesterday after they lost that game and through the penalty shootout. And for many, this is the biggest shocker we have seen so far in the World Cup. Some might not agree with us, but some expected Germany to progress. For the Paraguayans, they are celebrating. They are super happy that their team, was able to beat a highly rated Germany team in that very interesting round of 32 game. Now, stay on the round of 32 game, our own African champions, Morocco, had their own game yesterday. Now, talk about the fact that we had this very, very interesting game between Netherlands and Morocco, where we saw Netherlands play this great football. Netherlands thought they were winning the game. It was just all Netherlands way. At a particular time, Netherlands had to do something, do what we call, hoping they could win the game. But the fact that Netherlands played more of the defensive play, Koeman had 5 defenders playing yesterday for Netherlands, and he expected it to just go that way. They took the lead, and before we knew what happened, that let's go for Morocco kept Morocco in the game, pushed the game to extra time. I watched the game earlier of this morning, pushed the game to extra time, and it happened that Morocco had their day. Bono, the goalkeeper of Morocco, he's no doubt nobody is arguing around that fact that he is the number one goalkeeper when it comes to African champions. Based on what CAF, of course, CAF have put them as African champions for now. It's on their site until when CAF give their own maybe on that judgment. But Morocco African champions as it stands right now had their way. Sabairi was the man to score that winning goal, and it was enough for Morocco to qualify for the round of 16. And no doubt, everybody talking about this particular team as the best African team right now. In 2022, they go to the semi-finals of the World Cup. And in this particular World Cup, let's talk about something this particular team, they call the Morocco national team, are doing well. Don't forget, it's the same Morocco team that got to the semi-finals in the last World Cup. In the last completed AFCON, we saw them get to the finals. The Super Eagles of Nigeria played them in the semi-finals, and I watched that game live in the stadium. And one thing I could tell you is that these guys play very, very good football. I know somebody wants to talk. He needs to talk about Pooja, who is far away in Atlanta covering the World Cup for Atlantic TV. And Pooja will join us right now. And let's talk about something very, very interesting around the World Cup. And what we are seeing so far, Pooja has been a real fan of Morocco, where he has personally supported the Morocco national team. And, Morocco made many of us proud, not just making us proud, but making us proud with very, very good football. Top of the morning to you, Pooja. Now, Pooja, tell me, should we call the games we saw yesterday, or because of time difference, we saw this morning, as maybe the most interesting games we have seen in the World Cup so far, Pooja?
Good morning. Good to be on the show. Like I said, knockout phases are always very interesting because knockout phases, there's no second chance. You don't have to play a second game or a third game. You fail to win, you go home. And of course, in the group phases, there's no extra time. If you draw in the 90 minutes, you share the points. But this time around, there's no sharing of points. You have to win your game. So after 90 minutes, there will be extra time. And if there's no winner in the extra time, we're going to the penalty. So games will continue to be interesting because we are getting to the business side of the World Cup. So the game we saw yesterday or earlier hours of today will always be interesting because you cannot have your cake, you cannot eat your cake and have it. It's either you eat it or you throw it away. And that's what happened for Germany and of course for Netherlands. So, games will always be interesting when it comes to knockout phases, and congratulations to Morocco and of course to Paraguay and Brazil, who are looking like a team that is ready for the World Cup this time around.
And Pooja, let's start with the Brazil team. Yesterday, they had a game against Japan, and it was a very, very interesting one. Brazil were down by 1 goal, but something just happened. It just happened that Casemiro, Martinelli. But what can you tell me? What's the magical figure around that Brazilian national team? How far do you see them going with what we saw them play against Japan yesterday?
I think I said it on the show, and I said, when it comes to competition like this, or tournament like this, Ancelotti is actually one of the best managers, because if you look at what he has done, at the Champions League, he's the most successful manager when it comes to the Champions League. He has won with several clubs. So, and winning it with Real Madrid last time around was with Vinicius. Vinicius had his best season ever under Ancelotti. And what we are seeing at this World Cup is a Vinicius who is ready to play for the team, for the manager, and is in the best form of his life. Remember, Real Madrid didn't even win a trophy last season. They went trophyless. So look at what Vinicius has been doing at this tournament. A one of the best performers, at this World Cup against Japan. Unfortunately, he failed to get a goal. Yesterday was even a surprising, MVP award for me. I thought he was the one that would win the MVP when they gave it to Casemiro. So you look at a Brazil side who looks like they are ready to win the title. And for Ancelotti, he made good calls. He dropped João Pedro of Chelsea and brought on Martinelli. So he has justified the reason why Martinelli or other guys have to be in that team ahead of João Pedro. And look at Hendrick. He entered yesterday. He was causing chaos, for the Japanese, who looks like a very solid side until the later part of that of that game. So for Ancelotti, it looks like he knows how to get the result game per game, because you look at Japan, they're one of the well drilled side, and for them to come back from a goal down and defeat Japan, it shows that there's something going on with Brazil, and they flogged themselves with a lot of the legends. Kaká have been in the dressing room, Roberto Carlos have been in the dressing room, Ronaldo de Lima has been in the dressing room, Ronaldinho have been in the dressing room. The legends are all over the team, and these legends are motivating the guys that have won it. They are motivating the guys. It shows that there's going on with the Japan Brazilian team from the dressing room and from their camp. So let's see what will happen. Like I said, Ancelotti knows how to play this competition at the World Cup.
Now, talking about Endrick had a great game. That is one particular part of the Brazilian national team I have to pick out. But the German team, Germany are officially out of the World Cup. Paraguay, had a way of winning them through penalty shootouts. Are you surprised with the German team having to pack their bags? Maybe before this evening they should be back, to Berlin. But are you surprised with what happened around Germany yesterday?
No, not really surprised, because if you look at what Germany have been doing at this World Cup, games from the group phases, I think they'll be playing well. They lost even against Ecuador in the last game of their group phases. So it looks like they lost their momentum, losing that game against Ecuador. And if you look at Paraguay, people are looking at Paraguay as a very small side. They are not. This team defeated Argentina and Brazil in the qualifiers, in the South American qualifiers. Shows that they know how to drill teams very well. And because they lost their first game against USA, people believe that, Paraguay is not a team to be, is a team that, a pushover team. No, this is a when you talk about South American teams, they are a very technical team. And that's what we saw yesterday, through the penalties, through the games during duration. So for they look out of sorts. I believe Musiala should not be, starting games. He's not yet fit. I think Harvard cannot be the number one, striker for your team. And not meant because from the group stage playing well, and I wasn't surprised for Paraguay. I know fully, because the way they finished the group phase shows that Paraguay are ready for Germany. They lost to Ecuador, showed against that they are not ready.
All right, and let's go to the big one, Morocco. We've watched Morocco together. You were at the pitch side. I was watching from the media tribune, where we watched Morocco play against Super Eagles of Nigeria. You've watched Morocco play in the World Cup. We watched Morocco play in the semifinals in Qatar. And this same Morocco, yes, they pulled something very strong, scoring a late goal to make sure they got themselves, into the extra time and later winning the game. But what's for you? What will you say really stands out in this Morocco national team? Is it the coach? Is it the players? What can you pick points out and say, okay, this is what makes Morocco different from other teams around Africa?
I said something yesterday on the show. I said when it comes to a team that can show Africa that we are ripe for the World Cup is Morocco. And people are looking at Morocco as a team who, with the influx of foreign players, they are not ready. This is the best team in Africa. They are ranked 7th in the world. And it's about the collective responsibility of this team. Because this coach is just a new coach who has played who is playing his 4th professional match as a professional coach for a national team. It's still when it comes to football at this eye, so you have to give kudos to the players because they are playing together like a team who didn't before the World Cup. Remember, they lost their manager, they sacked Walid before the World Cup. And this guy is just like less than 100 days, less than 3 months on the job. And look at what they are doing. So it shows the work they've been doing from Qatar down to the AFCON and down to this World Cup. Any player that got in that team, even as a substitute, put it. Look at Raimi. He almost scored the winner in the extra time, thankfully for the goalkeeper of Netherlands. So it's a collective responsibility of this guy. They are well dead. That's why having a new manager, they looks like there's not lacking anything. And I told you, playing against Netherlands is just easy. Netherlands are ranked 8th in the world. So, if you look at it, Morocco is their daddy when it comes to FIFA ranking. So I believe It's a good one for them. Now they have created a good for themselves. They are playing Canada in the round of looks easy for them, but the Morocco, they don't take any team for granted. They don't underestimate any team. Like better Morocco going because this win is a catalyst for them. It's going to switch up their momentum, and we're going to see them getting to this World Cup.
All right, talking about how Morocco is going to do well, let's talk about Cote d'Ivoire. Cote d'Ivoire will have the chance to be on the African representative in the World Cup, would play later on this evening. Now, what are you expecting from the Cote d'Ivoire team in their game? You really expect Cote d'Ivoire to go in the way of talk about Morocco, where Morocco played that football. We're expecting a surprise for Cote d'Ivoire. Those analysts have said that we will not have more African teams leaving the round of 32 to the round of 16. Do you see Cote d'Ivoire being amongst those African teams that maybe will just get themselves to the round of 16?
No, it's very straightforward. Like, I said yesterday on the show, on Atlantic TV, and with you guys that, for South Africa, they messed up, their tactics against Canada. I don't think you should play defensive football or you should be playing a cautious football against Canada. But if you look at Ivory Coast, very expressive football as well. Remember what they did against Ecuador? I believe that they're going to go all out in this game. And what Morocco has done yesterday is to show Africans, all other African teams, they don't left that you can beat any team in the world, especially at this World Cup. I said it is only France and Argentina that show that they are champions. They show champion stuff. Other teams are beatable. Every team at this World Cup, they are beatable. And if you look, the teams that these African teams are going to play, they are beatable. Egypt, Morocco, Egypt, Algeria, Ivory Coast, even Cape Verde can do a shock against Argentina. So I hope that Ivory Coast, what Morocco did against Netherlands, and go for the win in their game.
A fast prediction, Cote d'Ivoire, Norway. What would be your prediction?
I believe it's going to be a tough game. I'm seeing an extra time win for Ivory Coast or a penalty win for Ivory Coast.
Very much, Pooja. Thank you for joining us this evening to talk about the World Cup. First, continue to enjoy your stay back in Atlanta, where you're covering everything that's happening around the World Cup happening in USA, Mexico, and Canada. Stay your Atlantic TV, where I fill up the biggest updates around the World Cup, and it's the FIFA World Cup roundup show, where we are looking at the big stories playing out of the World Cup. And let's look at the fixtures we would have today. Interesting games. We'll have Ivory Coast and Norway. We spoke about that with Pooja just a few minutes ago, where Ivory Coast definitely want to go against the Norway team. Lost their last game against France before they got to the round of 32. And to be a very interesting game, I would love to see what would happen. And France would play a very good game against Sweden. France had that game against Norway where France did well. One man many people would love to see would be the man they call Dembele, to see what he can do again. We won't forget the likes of Mbappe, who of course who is in real form, and the man giving the assist, who is also giving the assist for France to go against Sweden. One very interesting game we'll see today, and we would have Mexico play Ecuador, another big game. One of the host nations having to play against Ecuador, and it's a very interesting one around the World Cup so far. So we are seeing Canada moving to the round of 16, and the question will be which of the hosts will be the first nation to pack their bags and leave. But the funny thing around Canada, Canada moved out of Canada to play their matches in the USA because they were able to top their group. So it's very, very interesting. We expect Canada to play against Morocco in the round of 16. Many games that many Africans are optimistic that Morocco will be needful and move to the quarterfinals of the World Cup. All right, still talking about what's happening around the World Cup, the FIFA World Cup Roundup show. Now let's talk about our man of the day, the man who made many Africans smile and made many people to believe that African football is still at the top level. They are seventh in the world, to the Moroccan national team, and one man stood out yesterday as Sabairi, who of course is our man of the day. Sabairi doing so well, scoring the winning penalty for his country to make sure Morocco moved to the round of 16. And for many football fans, this is the man. Now, the whole story about this man is one story that I love to talk about, because many people would ask the question before the World Cup. Many people have not even heard of them because Sabairi. Many people did not even expect him to be one of the key men to show up in the Moroccan national team. He has 3 goals already in the World Cup and scored the winning goal for his country yesterday, and many people are talking about him. This is the man, yes, and this is what the World Cup keeps doing, bringing out new identity, new players, and it takes my mind back to James Rodriguez, the particular man who's in, I think that should be 2014 World Cup, where he scored that popular goal for Colombia. And after then, we saw Real Madrid, sign him. Some talk about Ramirez, the particular, I think that should be 2010 World Cup. And some talk about the fact how he played so well for Brazil. And after then, we saw what happened with his career to Chelsea. And now we are seeing new stars, some stars that we already know, giving us the real football, and the man Sabairi is one of those men that we are talking about today. He's our man of the day on the FIFA Roundup show on Atlantic TV for his great performance, 3 goals, and got the winning goal for his country to move to the round of 16 of the World Cup. And for what's happening around our man of the day, let's look at our list of goal scorers. Now, the golden boot chase is still on, and we are doing the covering up how the chase is going. The top scorers. Now, Messi is still leading with 6 goals. We have Mbappe 4 goals. Many expect Mbappe to add to it today. Now, if Mbappe scores at least 2 goals, he might be in the same position with Messi. If he scores 3 goals, he is above Messi. So it'll be a very interesting one when France will play against Sweden this evening. Dembele has 4 goals. Interesting to see how Dembele might just also increase his goal tally if he scores against Sweden today. Vinicius Junior could not get on the score sheet yesterday when Brazil had to play against Japan. Erin Highland has a chance against Ivory Coast this evening to score a goal and maybe score 2 goals and make sure he gets the same goal tally with the man they call Messi. So it's an interesting one so far, and we expect to see maybe goals, harvest of goals. But one great thing I have noticed so far is in the round of 32, which we've had at least 4 games so far, we've had the teams are a bit more cautious. So we don't see teams score 4 goals, 5 goals. Everybody are more cautious, taking things step by step. And for many people, this is what happens when you get to the knockout stage, where your teams or where your countries are now more, protective. Nobody wants to go all out to score goals. Now, talking about protective, that is talking about the next man we want to talk about, Koeman, the coach of the Netherlands team. Now, reports around Ronald Koeman is that he has officially stepped aside as the coach of Netherlands after his team were not able to qualify for the round of 16. We know what happened. They lost the game to Morocco yesterday. But I was talking just about how teams love to guide the post. Now, he played 5 defenders yesterday, which many critics believe that this is not what we know the Dutch team to do. The Dutch team is a team that have a good flair of football. They come out to attack, want to score goals. But we saw something that was shocking yesterday, playing 5 defenders against, Morocco. And some critics believe that this is what led to his team to lose the game. Now imagine, at one time in that game yesterday, the possession was 80% to 20% in favor of Morocco. At one time, it got to 90% to 10% in favor of Morocco. So at a point, the Dutch team were just defending, and Koeman, according to some reports we're having, have stepped aside as a coach of Netherlands. As some say his records have been so bad. But for people like us, we'll tell you something. Netherlands met a very, very tough team. Morocco plays very, very good football, and many of us are proud of them. And the question will be if they can surpass what they did in 2022, where we saw them, they got to the semi-finals. Some people will be saying, come on, pull it, do something bigger and get to the finals of the World Cup. All right, let's move from there. Let's go to what's trended. The World Cup always have those great moments, which I love. We all love those great moments, those moments that make us enjoy the beauty of the game, the moments outside the pitch, but within the pitch, somehow, some way. Now, social media always goes buzzing with what is happening around the World Cup. Now, talk about social media. Social media has a way of making sure you follow up with what is happening around the World Cup. Now, some people within Nigeria will say, oh, the nights, the games happen early hours of the morning and they cannot sleep. But social media have a way of keeping us in touch. Now, let's look at what is trending today. And let's start off with something very, very nice. Now, this is when I always talk about the emotions the World Cup would bring. It's bringing it already. We are seeing that emotions. We are finding ourselves in that deep part where we just have to let go. Now, this is a particular video of Sabairi and his mom. Now, hugging his mom in a very, very, emotional way. His mom was, of course, crying, and look at this, look at the fans. And this is what football just keep on doing. won't forget the Cape Verde man who got his mom, and this is another very, very touching video. A mother who is proud of her own son, definitely making her so proud. We can't just take that away. Scoring 3 goals and scoring the winning goal, and this is one of those moments that we will keep so close to us. And one of the big moments of the FIFA World Cup 2026, one of those moments that most of us will keep talking about and will be on the lips of many football fans for a very, very long time. Now, still around what is trending around the World Cup. Now, this is another part I always talk about. I spoke about culture, religion, and this has to do with religion. And this is the Moroccan national team after their game yesterday, going down to pray in the stadium and, praying, thanking their fans, thanking God for the opportunity to get them to the round of 16. And this is what happens. Culture, religion, this is what's happening. And, the Moroccans are really, really religious people. We've seen, other countries whereby we see they have this kind of prayer after the game, and this is the Moroccan national team giving thanks to God for a chance to play in the round of 16. And still what's trending around the World Cup. Now, we'll miss these particular guys because they are so neat. They brought a culture into the World Cup that many people would talk about for a very long time. Now, this culture, many of us can remember this culture started back in 2022 World Cup, where we saw Japan after every game, they have to stay back and clean the stadium, cleaning especially where their fans had to stay during the game. Now, if you've been to one of these tournaments or any tournament of football, you've been to the stadium to watch a football match, you understand that the fact that there's lots of dirt all around. Now, the Japanese have made sure that since last World Cup, after every game, they have to stay back and pack the dirt. Now, what's most intriguing about this video is the fact that they lost their game against Brazil yesterday. They did not win Brazil. They lost the game, but it did not take the good habits from them that you have to, clean up wherever you miss. And you see, beyond the entertainment of football, the goals of Messi, the goals of Mbappe, the goals of Dembele, we are learning some great culture and something about the fact that this is what every fan should imbibe. The fact that you have to keep the surroundings clean, beyond even the stadium, your everyday life. And this is what the World Cup gives us, teaching us different lessons. And today we spoke about the emotional part, we spoke about Sabairi, and talk about the religious part, we spoke about the culture, and the World Cup has a way of uniting everything that concerns life in a very, very special way. And that is why we here on Atlantic TV are making sure we cover every single moment of the World Cup. Of course, with our team in the US, led by Pooja, giving us the total coverage of what's happening around the World Cup. And of course, our team right here in Delta State, where we are covering and making sure you don't miss any part of the World Cup. My name is Richard Unwaje. Don't forget to have the game between France and Sweden, and Ivory Coast will go against Erin Highlands, Norway, later on today. Tomorrow, we'll come and talk about those games. The question will be, who would go home? Maybe Norway, maybe Ivory Coast, maybe France, maybe Sweden. Will we have another shocker? We'll wait until later on this evening, when those games will take place in the FIFA World Cup. I'll see you tomorrow. It's still Atlantic TV.